When the noise of the world gets too loud, how do we find a way back to ourselves? My guest today, Sandy Dias Andrade, has dedicated her life to helping people do just that. As a founder director of Just Being, she's a well known psychotherapist and a leading voice in bringing mindfulness and wisdom approaches into mainstream psychology. With over 2 decades of experience, she's a true pioneer in the field, from teaching at prestigious universities to organizing India's first ever conference on mindfulness and its application in mental health. What's more, Sandy's passion for healing extends far beyond her practice. She's a dedicated volunteer, a trainer, a trustee at Connecting Trust, a suicide prevention NGO where she founded their helpline service in Pune. It's here that she's designed a life changing course called Mindfulness Based Active Listening, a program that trains volunteers to provide compassionate, embodied support. Join me as we dive into a conversation with Sandy, an expert who not only understands the mind but also the heart of what it truly means to connect. Hi, welcome on board.
Yeah, thank you,
It's
Karina.
really lovely to have you here today, Sandy, and thank you for making time and coming and meeting us. It's truly a pleasure and an honor to have you with us.
And my pleasure as well.
Sandy, we'll start off right away so that I know that you're on a time schedule, so I don't want to take too much of your time. Sandy, with your work at Connecting and in schools, you've seen firsthand the mental health challenges young people face today, especially with our grades, our aspirations, the way we look at success. Unfortunately, success for us is not no longer about doing something well. It's about the numbers that comes with it, the percentages. I get this percent, I get that percent. And with that comes overwhelming anxiety, apprehension, and let's be very honest, absolute and complete pressure. So I mean, so tell me, with what unique pressures do you believe are contributing to the rise in mental health distress amongst young people today, especially this generation? Gen,
Yes.
uh, and how can we foster communities both in and out of school that not only are compassionate but also resilient?
Yeah, thank you, Karina. And like you rightly said, there is a lot of pressure that is felt by young people. But when we look at suicides and the rate of suicide, especially among young people, which is the highest, suicide rates are highest, in this age group of 59 to of 15 students from 15 to 24, and if you really look at this phenomenon, it is that is just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath that, it's really pointing us to many, many layers that are there. One of them is this academic pressure, how we kind of connect, like you said,
The number
in
game.
terms of
Yeah.
our self worth is connected to being successful or achieving, and all of that doesn't start as a teen. It starts much earlier,
Yeah.
and it is embedded in just the way we look at things as a
Correct.
society. So all of that is getting reflected when we are looking at young people and how they are responding to this kind of pressure. you know if you just take an example of, like, let's say there is something going on in a family, right, where maybe there is conflict or there is violence, and or maybe the parents don't get along, or the elders, there is a fight. where does the um, where do you start to notice that something is happening? It's usually in the children in the family,
Hmm.
where they are uh, you know their manifestation of some symptoms, something, is actually a cry for help. It's a calling for attention to that something is amiss here, something needs to be paid attention to in the entire system. So it's not just catering to the child. Similarly, on a larger scale in society, when we are seeing that the numbers are really high, where youth are concerned, where students are concerned, it is pointing us out to that something is really not okay and needs attention in society. So, one of the pressures is the academic pressure. And when you look at, but also two key developmental things that are really important at this age. One is this development of a sense of identity, and two, a sense of belonging. So everyone's really seeking that sense of belonging and also this kind of quest of who they are. Now, this is a very natural kind of process. It gets kind of complicated and it gets even more harder to move through these challenges, especially now if you look at things like bullying, if you look at things like the isolation that is caused when maybe I'm from a marginalized community, maybe I don't have a normal sense of belonging because of my background or race or culture, or and then that's causing also added difficulties to just this basic human need for finding our place in the world. So then young people are really navigating not just this normal search for self and belonging, but also with all the um, you know, all the challenges that we are faced as a society, because these are there in society. And then that is there in the school systems, that is there in any community, any society. The other thing that really needs to be paid attention to among young people is the social media, and somehow this kind of which we also find ourselves getting really sucked into that world where there is no barrier or boundary then between, okay, I can just take recourse in myself because I'm in this kind of constant bombardment of, and also this wanting to be liked, which is again this kind of natural need, but now it is kind of really magnified with the likes that I receive, and also the cyberbullying that can happen, the isolation that can happen
Correct.
through that, and where my connection is not coming so much now from a face to face interaction, but it is coming through what I post, what I receive, what messages I send, and it's coming through this kind of faceless contact.
The likes.
The likes. Another aspect is more and more young people are turning to, AI or ChatGPT
Yes.
for this kind of recourse. Again, this kind of faceless. It's not to say that these tools can't be helpful, but what is happening is the reduction or the pulling away from the social connection, from the actual human to human interaction and contact.
Understood.
And that's really important in terms of the way we develop as human beings. We are social creatures. I need to see you, I need to see how you're responding. I get a lot of feedback, not just from your words, but also from, just this encounter. So that, with that kind of like missing, it can feel more isolating.
I can imagine. I
Yeah.
can just imagine. And especially, unfortunately, whatever we put on social media is not exactly true.
Mm.
We put up false picture of ourselves online.
Yeah.
We look prettier. Those filters don't do any justice to us,
Yeah.
or they don't help with a sense of self worth. If anything, they only it goes deeper.
Yeah.
You it's the filters. It's the number of likes that you have over there. It's this picture perfect life that you're trying to put out there, which only but when you go off, you go offline, you realize the starkness of your world, or at least the starkness that you perceive your world,
Hmm.
the gray that your world is. How does one work with themselves out of that?
Yeah.
I mean, switching off completely is not, going offline is no solution. You can't do that in
Yes.
today's time.
Yes. But these things are also in terms of practice
Hmm.
of how what's my relationship to technology,
Hmm.
how do I relate to it, how
Hmm.
do I also use it for benefit,
Hmm.
right? And having this kind of some time away, which young people will find really hard to
Hard.
do,
Yeah.
especially when there is technology and phones introduced at a really young age.
Correct.
So this pulling away, having some time with yourselves, having some time for actually going out,
Hmm.
meeting friends, face to face
Correct.
interactions, and meaningful engagement where I can be meaningfully engaged with something, which is far more than maybe that this will help me to achieve this or help me to kind of like rise further, but
Hmm.
something that is because young people also have a natural need to contribute to and that can really also be tapped
Correct.
into, but for that you need the environment that is also supportive,
Correct.
because you can't ask young people, okay, all this, let's engage with meaningful, if they are not exposed to that,
Correct.
if the curriculum that we teach in
Yeah.
schools is not geared towards
Correct.
that, if parents have their own ideas that this is what is
Yes.
important,
Correct.
because they are also faced with those same
Correct.
pressures, right? So
Correct.
even if a parent wants their child to do differently, um, yet they feel the pressure to kind of that their child should fit in so that the child will be successful, the child will and therefore feel happy,
Happy.
right? And so our whole notion of what happiness means, what is meaning, what is purpose, all those notions are, we really need to come back to what does it truly mean to have a sense of well being,
Right.
right? What does it mean to be me, um, that is not related to us, what I achieve?
Correct. With your
What?
work at Connecting and in schools, you've seen firsthand the mental health challenges young people face today. What unique pressures do you believe are contributing in the rise of in mental distress among this generation? And how can you foster, or how can we foster communities both in and out of school that are not only compassionate but also resilient?
So thank you, Corina, for really this really important question about young people. And if you look at suicide prevention rates, that they are highest in this age group
Yeah.
from 15 to 24. In fact, 15 to 29 is the highest number. And so young people are faced with a lot of pressures, uh, maybe much more than at what we have faced and earlier generations have faced at that age. And if you really look at it, it is it's we can look at, yes, it is just the pressure that people are facing, but it's really pointing out to many deeper layers and many deeper concerns that we really need to pay attention to as a society.
Hmm.
Because what suicide really points out too is that it's never a I just felt this pressure and
It's a cry
then
for help.
it's a cry for help. There are many complex factors that are involved that really go into creating this kind of internal environment that where a person feels like this is the way in which I can cope, the
Yeah.
only way in which I can cope. So, where young people are concerned and the pressures that they're facing, of course, you have the academic pressure, the need to kind of perform. But when you look under that, is also the pressure that we have put, no, on young people as a
Yeah.
society. Because that's not just pressure that they are feeling in isolation, it is because of a certain environment that is causing them to feel that sense of pressure. And secondly, where our sense of self worth, our sense of who we are, is unfortunately, in the way we have set up things in society, is very linked to achievement, right? And so, really, kind of where young people, not just on their own, but with enabling environments, can really separate their sense of self, their sense of self worth from a sense of achievement,
Right.
right? And they can see themselves in that light. The other, you know, before talking about the other pressures, is just something we just need to understand that at this age, there are two developmental needs that are absolutely important to navigate just generally as a human being. One is the sense of identity at as a young person of 16, 17, as a young adult, the sense of who am I and finding one's own ground, that becomes important. And the second one is a sense of belonging. Belonging to, I have a sense of belonging which is now much more than what I'm having just at home.
Correct.
It is being part of a larger framework, which is what young people are seeking through their peer groups,
Correct.
through the environment that they are in, which is schools, colleges, and wherever they are interacting. And so that natural need for finding oneself or finding where one belongs gets more complicated when we are looking at some factors in the social fabric, like, for example, isolation that is caused by maybe belonging to a marginalized community, maybe being different from others, where generally there is a lack of acceptance of differences, and that makes it even more complex. Add to this that there are issues like bullying, right, that can really create a sense of isolation because it is really hitting against this need for a very natural need to belong and to connect and to have acceptance, especially from peers. Add to this complication of social media and how much young people are getting entrenched in having their sense of worth, having the sense of belonging through social media, seeking comfort from where things are nameless, faceless, right? And that doesn't work very well for us as human beings, because we do need, as social beings, we do need the
Contact.
interaction,
Yes.
the
Yes.
contact, the face to face.
We are a social animal to begin with. Yes.
Yes, and that's really important for an overall sense of development, in terms of also being able to read these cues that okay, I'm okay as I am.
Correct.
I don't need to kind of something or go by some standards, or see how many likes I get. And that kind of separation that really needs to happen from, or having a balance between being involved with the internet, social media, and having these kind of human face-to-face interactions.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
But there was another part in your question of how
yes.
do we
How do we?
create
Yes.
these
Yes.
compassionate
Yes.
communities
With resilience and yeah.
with and the resilience that is needed. And so one of the reasons why this gets so complex is because you do not have uh, supportive environments,
Right.
right? So you do not have a supportive environment
At home or
at
in school?
home,
Okay.
at school. Just generally, we do not have supportive environments for young people. And that doesn't start just at 15. We don't have supportive environments for our children to
Yeah.
begin with, right? Where children can feel heard, accepted,
Yeah.
their feelings met, just you know, just the sense of belonging, just a sense of connection,
Correct.
a felt sense of connection. So they need to have environments that support that. So the way our curriculums are based, it doesn't really support that.
No.
It doesn't really support collaboration. It supports competitiveness.
Right.
It doesn't. It doesn't support. Uh, other things which are looked at
Yeah.
as just co-curricular,
Correct.
right? But this co-curricular is really important for well-being,
Correct.
right? So where mental health, where well-being are really central in how we think and design things for young people. So this has to be there in the system. And that's the way we can create compassionate communities, both whether it is at home, whether it is, in places where young people meet and spend most of their time.
Correct.
So there is a lot to look at. But instead of saying, okay, there's everything wrong, we also need to see what is right. And the schools and the colleges, where there is interaction. There is interaction with adults who are their teachers, who are professors. And if teachers, professors are also sensitized in terms of how they meet the child, how they talk to the child, how they receive the child, and not just in terms of just teaching the curriculum. There is a lot there that the child will receive, the child will imbibe, right? And also to know when a child is in distress, when are they showing signs like that. And it doesn't take too much.
Correct.
It just means that I am sensitive. People are sensitive.
Yes, they are.
you
I
know.
was just, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like they are not sensitive,
Correct.
but where is the time to pause, to see, to say, hey, something, you're not looking like yourself
Absolutely,
lately.
yes.
Is there something happening?
Correct.
You know, we can talk if there is something. So it just requires that, maybe just a pat on a child's shoulder, just that is reassuring.
Correct.
It doesn't require much, but it requires for the adults around
Correct.
to see
Correct.
and to meet and to um, come into this natural
Natural
sensitivity that we all have.
Correct. Yeah, it's basically boils down to reaching out.
Yes.
Just reaching out. And but before the reaching out, you need to recognize that something is wrong.
Yeah.
You need to be able to recognize the signs.
Yes.
And that's where you come in. That's where your training comes in.
Yes.
To recognize that something's off and to reach out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in some way, even before that, what helps us to connect?
Right.
What helps us to just come into connection even when there's no problem.
Correct.
We don't have to wait for problems. And,
Correct.
but can I just see whom I'm interacting with?
Correct. We were just talking just now, and a phrase just flashed in my mind right now. How are you? I mean, it is such like it is a form of greeting, but it holds such a wealth of meaning behind that three little words.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we take it for granted actually.
Yeah.
We just say, very well, thank you for asking. And you don't really mean to ask that you again,
Yeah.
You're like, okay, fine. I'm
Yeah.
okay,
And we would be, I don't know how many people would really, really want to know.
Yes.
How are you?
How are you? Correct.
Right.
Another one, one of my favorite One of my favorite series is a medical series. I'm a fan of of medical series. So one of them is called Amsterdam.
Hmm.
It's an American serial drama series, and the one of the phrases out is "How may I help?"
Hmm.
It goes a long way,
Yeah. And just in terms of saying that with real intention,
Exactly, and
right?
empathy,
And empathy.
Yes, how may I help?
Yeah.
And that is incredible. I think just hearing that puts you at ease. Like
Yeah.
okay, you take it. It gives you a moment to pause
Yeah.
and recollect and recalibrate.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and actually answer the question in the right manner.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think we are just so used to, hi, how are you? What's happening? You don't really want to know. You
You
just
don't
say,
want to
yeah.
know what's happening, really.
Those are social nicety that you are supposed to spew,
Hmm.
and then you work on.
Hmm.
Happy in your knowledge. I've been nice to this person. He's been nice to me, and that's it.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's fascinating. And Sandy, we were talking earlier, and I something else kind of popped up in my head. You were talking to me, and I just realized that I was talking to you earlier off camera. We were talking, and you were listening to what I was saying.
Hmm.
The power of listening
Hmm.
is now a dying art.
Hmm.
And I'm sorry I call it an art because
Hmm.
it's an art form. To listen to someone is an art form.
Hmm.
So my question to you next out here is the work of connecting Trust Helpline is profoundly moving. I have seen some of the work that you guys have
Hmm.
been doing. Um, can you speak to us about the courage it takes for someone in an emotional distress to reach out for help? And what it truly means to listen with embodied presence, when a person is expressing suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
How What do you do? I mean, I can come and tell you, I want to kill myself.
Yeah.
That is something we do, that we say that phrase so often.
Hmm.
My shoes are not fitting, I want to kill myself.
Hmm.
I'm having my laptop is powered down, it went on a glitch, I want to kill myself.
Hmm.
But that phrase itself, we don't even think when you're saying
Yeah.
it. And then there's this person who's actually saying it, and then to pick up on that cadence, that nuance of the phrase, and then to go and help. I think it takes courage. So tell me a little
Yeah.
more about your work.
Yes. So, people call on the helpline, and they reach out to helplines. And because one, it is anonymous,
Hmm.
and it's confidential,
Correct.
right? So I can be on this side, and I'm in emotional distress. I am, really in this dark place,
Hmm.
and I may have tried many other forms of reaching out and not got that
Once.
response, or I may be feeling really overwhelmed at this time, and nobody is available. And here there is a number that I can call, and so people do call, and so so when people kind of like yeah so when a person calls in distress, uh, the the volunteer on the other side is trained to listen,
Hmm.
like you're saying, and listen to the person without trying to fix them, without trying to make them feel better, without trying to now remove this kind of ideation from their head. They are just meeting them just where they are, in full acceptance of their inner reality.
Hmm.
Uh, we are listening to the feelings behind what the person is saying. And one, we always get this kind of question. So what will this do if I'm just listening to someone and they are in distress? Isn't that but we are here to help, and we look at helping as rescuing, right? But here the premise is that this person is under a dark cloud right now, but this person does have the inner capacity to move through it. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I'm trusting that. And I'm trusting that by being there with them in this, under the dark cloud, sitting with the person, not sitting afar, not giving them advice, but really being there with him. That, yeah, there is a dark cloud and it does feel like that.
Correct.
Right? And when that is heard, when that is acknowledged, when that feeling is met in all of that chaos, something is met, that imminent pressure that I must do something about this, like in my life or something like that, that pressure
You
reduces
diffuse a bomb, basically.
in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because all that emotional activation, right, that comes down just by this steadily being there, not getting, not moving here and there and saying, oh my God, this is terrible. This is okay. We understand that this people, all of us, can go through these points in our lives, right? And that when I'm feeling suicidal, when I'm having these thoughts, it's simply pointing out to that something here feels overwhelming. Something here feels too much for me to bear, right? And because it's feeling too much, because the pain is too much, then these thoughts come as a way of coping with the pain. Most people don't really want to kill themselves,
No, they
right?
don't.
Yeah. Um, and but they do have thoughts, right? And they do have thoughts when they are faced with a situation where there is a lot of emotional pain and not feeling very resourced enough at that point of time, and not having the support around them
Correct.
to move through that. So on the helpline, when there is that listening, one, there is the sense, a felt sense, not just words, but a felt sense someone's there. I'm not alone in this. Right?
Very nice.
And that helps the person to come into their own, it's like, okay, the even in the brain structures, when the emotional center of the brain just calms down, that's when we have access to solutions.
Correct.
Otherwise, if the emotions are very high, you can't see,
Correct.
right? So when that comes down, then the path, possibly the next step, not even a path out of this, but just the next step, just opens up. And as the listener, you're simply listening to that, reflecting that, putting it out there so that the person can see what is it that is coming up from their own knowing and wisdom, right? Not someone else's wisdom. Not because the way I would would do things, it's not coming from theory.
Correct.
It's not coming from anywhere else. It's coming from how do what's coming up for me right now and how I want to navigate this.
Correct.
So the role of the listener, like the compassionate listening, the embodied listening, is really to be very steady, grounded, right?
With no personal emotions involved. You just hear the person out.
Yeah, but you do have, of course, you will feel.
Feel,
You
yeah.
need to feel, right?
Yes.
And a lot of volunteers also ask, and they feel like, okay, but I will get impacted, no, by
Of course you
the
would.
person.
I was just going to come to that.
Yes, you would, because you are listening, you are connecting,
So
you're
much, yeah,
being
because
with
there's
them.
only so much darkness you can absorb at one point of time.
Yeah, but it's not like you absorbing this darkness. You're allowing this to be there because you're not afraid of the darkness. Because you have met, or you are on this path of willing to meet
And you have
the
your own life,
darkness
yes, correct.
within you,
Correct.
right? You are willing to sit with your own emotions and feelings and see that all feelings are okay.
Correct.
Yeah. And can I have a way of being with it?
Correct.
So, as a volunteer, as a listener, to really come into that exploration yourself, because that gives you the confidence, the strength that it is okay. You're going through this now, but having an inner sense, it's okay.
Correct.
Yeah. So that sense of okay, not that you tell anyone it's okay,
Correct.
because that's not what people want to hear.
No, not at all.
They want to feel that
Correct.
from your presence.
You know, I like what you're saying right now. And I was just thinking, but that's for the outsider, the one who's not, who doesn't, who's a nameless face, nameless voice on the phone. What happens when that same thing translates within your home?
Yeah.
When somebody I know who's feeling suicidal at home, somebody who I love, who I know, maybe for all of my life, or maybe I'm married to this person, or maybe I'm in love with this person, in a relationship with my friend. How do I help that person who's feeling suicidal?
Mm.
How?
Yeah.
How do I support a loved one in a suicidal crisis?
Yes.
And because of you, like you said, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
I'm already dealing with the shock of realizing that this person is trying to take his or her own life. So how do I, from your experience, what are the most essential and immediate steps for a person I can take to listen effectively and compassionately?
Yeah.
And what are the pitfalls to avoid this?
Yeah. So, one thing, even as a listener, and even when talking about encountering somebody feeling suicidal, what's behind, and we may come to that a little later, but what's behind that is, as a society, we are entering into taboo area, right? And why is it taboo? Why are we not comfortable with even asking someone whether they are feeling suicidal? Because underneath that is a fear. It's a deep existential fear that we encounter because we don't talk about death as a society. We are not comfortable with it, right? And so the very idea that not just suicide, but if this possibility is bringing up this intense fear within one person as a listener. Now, and there is also the care and the concern when it is happening at home and somebody close, that what if this person were to really act on it? Now, that is a really valid fear.
Correct.
Our alarm bells, the red flags need to go up, right? Because the person is crying for help. The person is, that's a way of coping. So there's something underlying that. If you look at when a person is feeling suicidal, that's their way of coping, that's their way of dealing with the pain. It's not so much about ending life, though sometimes it does come into that.
Correct.
But how do I make space now, make it safe enough for the person to be able to talk about what's going on for them? For that, I need to meet my fear first. Right? And I need to acknowledge that this is scaring.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And
that's too much responsibility,
yes. And I may need help and support, myself. But when I am faced with that person, can I open the door to a conversation?
Right.
Like, I'm here.
Yes.
Right? And let's see what is it that is there for you. Right? Now the person may not open up and not talk. Right? Maybe because of the kind of relationship, maybe the past relationship that is shared, or the fear that the person has of how they will be judged. A lot of people feeling suicidal don't share with loved ones. One, they don't want to burden them.
Yeah.
Secondly, they don't want to be judged for it.
Correct.
Right? So,
or in some cases, they think they are responsible for it.
Or they feel that they are responsible for it, that I'm the problem.
Yeah.
If I get myself out of this equation, everything will be better. right?
Yeah, the persecution complex, the Jesus complex. Sorry, I'm a little hard on that, but yes, I know where you're coming from that one.
Yeah, but it is a very, because it's almost like taking the whole thing on
The
oneself,
blame on yourself, yes.
and saying that because one of the main important things in that suicidal feeling is a sense of worthlessness,
Yeah.
helplessness, hopelessness. That's called the triad, right? So of a person experiencing these thoughts, so there is all of that going on. So if there is that assurance that now this is coming like as a, as a parent myself, or as just someone, you care about them, you're not coming as a professional, right? There is a relationship there which is different, which is embedded in many other things, right? It's a two-way relationship. And something that I tell my children, and I hope they have absorbed it, is no matter what happens, you can always come and talk to me, or, my husband, right? No matter what happens, there is nothing that you can do or say, or any situation that you're in, that we would kind of like say, that it's, how did you land up there? Yeah. So
Right.
you can come and talk to us. And um, these kind of conversations, I think, need to happen, where children need to know, young people need to know that there is a space that they can come
A safe space,
and
yeah.
talk, and they won't be judged for it.
Correct.
Like there may be judgments that come up,
Yeah.
and you need to keep that aside and have a conversation about that
Correct.
another time, about the situation. But at that time, when the child is distressed, right, or when the person is distressed, you just need to hear them out.
But what about what happens? The child is not able to actually comprehend. I mean, he or she is almost 8 or 9 years old, and who's saying this to you,
Hmm.
and it rings because I know I have a friend's um, son who came and told me I want to kill myself, and he was all of 9 years old.
Mm.
It sent the chills down my spine, and but he also told me, "Can I take this pair of scissors home?" I said, "Why?
Hmm.
I want to kill myself." And I was thinking to myself, you're too young to be thinking about stuff. You're too young to be actually having the kind of problems
Yeah.
where you think the only way out for you is to end it all, you know.
Yeah.
And all I could do was hug him, and
Mm.
I'm look at me. I'm still I
Yeah.
got the chills right now, and I that was one of the most overwhelming experiences of
Yes.
my life,
Yes.
and it still hurts deeply that that sweet young innocent boy actually said that to me.
Yeah. And I would also say that thank God he felt safe enough to say that to you.
You're right.
Something in him felt okay, and felt like maybe I can say this here.
Right.
And so you receive that with care, and then we can just give space, like, what's going on for you?
Correct.
What makes it so
Difficult.
hard?
Yeah.
Come, let's talk. Not concentrating, oh, don't do this or whatever. There is time for that conversation. But right now, as the person is saying it, just open the door for a conversation of what's going on for you. Very often there is an alarm that comes up,
Yeah.
and people just say that, oh, don't think like that. Why do you think like that?
That's the wrongest thing to say,
you
right?
know
Yeah.
and that we are here, and don't. And yes, I was at a college with teachers. They had a lot of incidents of suicide among people, and they wanted a little, we can take some time.
No,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, they
I was because it just hit me just now when we were talking about this little, and the face popped up, and I
yes.
was really upset. Right? Sorry, I'm good.
Yes. Yeah. So I was talking about, no, and tears are fine.
Yeah.
Of course, when we talk about these things, if we are not moved, then how can we,
Right.
even enter into this space?
Correct.
So Yeah, so I was just saying, in terms of sometimes, even as um, someone in this field where there is a lot of how do you ask the question, how do you bring this thing up, how all of that, and this whole
What's the right
training.
question to
Yeah,
ask, you know?
yeah, the right question, or I don't know whether there's a right question, but it's a series of invitations like this, and finally you do need to ask, are you feeling suicidal?
Wow.
Directly. How would you know otherwise? And what that question
How does
does,
how does
it
a child like that answer you back?
maybe not a 9-year old,
Yeah,
yeah, a 9-year old, I would use the same words that the child is using. That,
correct.
yeah,
Why do
that
you want to
is,
kill yourself? Yeah.
yes, yeah. But I'm not talking about that child, but just generally, you see somebody in distress, you see that they're showing you all the signs, and you feel something is happening. And as they're talking to you and sharing what the situation is, and they're sharing these feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, feeling worthless, at some point of time, simply asking this very direct question of, at times, does it get so bad that you feel like harming yourself, you feel like ending your life? And what that does is that it opens the door to the other person to say yes. And that relieves a lot of pressure, because otherwise you're just with those thoughts and they're just, you know, amplifying in one's head, right? And that's what I was talking about, that behind even asking that very simple question, there's so much of fear that we have.
Yeah, that's true, you know. That's actually because you do not want to know actually because you're too scared of what might come up, you know.
Yes, and then how do I handle
Handle
that?
that. Because the person going to be talking about, or she's going to be talking about, is someone you know,
Hmm.
who's, and someone you care about, and someone you have grown up with. And then you suddenly say that, but this is coming from that place.
Yeah.
You know, and this person is responsible for this little child. I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah, yeah,
equating
yeah.
everything to you because
Yes.
it just I was trying to because I was trying to find a connect over here, like how do I help somebody who, because
Yes.
we all know people, we know of people who harm themselves,
Yeah.
you know, self harmed, but you never actually find out a way, and you never know a person who comes and tells you I want to do this.
Hmm.
And I mean, you have friends coming and say, oh, I want to kill myself, you know,
Hmm.
because moment, heat of the moment,
Yeah.
and when they're but when a child comes and tells you this, it hits
Yes.
hard
Yes.
because a child is not supposed to know about these things. At least in your head, a child
Mm-hmm.
is not supposed to know about
Hmm.
these things, you know. And forget, he's supposed to be a happy little child, you know.
Yeah.
So I know what you're saying.
Yeah. But we also need to see that children also have all these feelings. They feel sadness, they feel jealousy,
Yes.
they feel happiness, they feel joy, and they move through all these emotions. And so the underlying preventive part is also to let the child be able to say what they're feeling,
Correct.
you know,
Yes.
when they are feeling
Yes.
it.
Let them purge those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that, yeah, I'm not feeling okay, or
Yeah.
they'll
Correct.
show it in behavior, or and then simply asking,
Correct.
okay, what's happened,
Correct. Yeah.
you know?
You know, from there, from helping someone who is suicidal to helping someone who's a suicide survivor,
Yeah.
the family,
Yeah.
the grieving family. Well, I'm pretty sure after the person is gone, the grief, apart from the grief, is this overwhelming sense of guilt.
Hmm.
What did I do wrong
Yeah.
that led to this? Did I not give enough time, or how much is enough time, or why did this happen?
Yeah.
You know, so tell me how losing someone to suicide is a complex and isolating grief. I don't think anyone can ever cope with with a loss because
Hmm.
that's something that is personal. But when it's happened to someone who's close to you, and not of a natural way, or not even in a natural way, as an accident or whatever.
Yeah.
But here you're talking about someone who's actually ended his or own life. You know. So how do communities and organizations provide meaningful long-term support for individuals who have not just lost a loved one, but someone that how do they deal with the guilt of being a survivor?
Yeah.
He's gone, I'm still
Yeah.
here. And what role can a mindful, presence oriented support approach play for in their healing process?
Yeah. So one is there is the grief and the loss, right? That would be there. There is also this the shock, right? Of this of this
Yes,
death.
correct.
Yeah. And yes, like you rightly said, a survivor is also deeply impacted.
Yeah.
With every death by suicide, um, there is a whole community that is affected. It impacts
Everybody.
it impacts a whole lot of people. One thing I would like to say is that sometimes it can also bring up their own thoughts and
Of-
feelings of suicide. That's
Seriously?
why that's why when there is a suicide in a community, you need to kind of like come in, because to avoid what's called a suicide contagion, right? Where one suicide starts to affect the others, and then there can be more suicide. And now, why is that happening? Not because this has now suddenly created something or given ideas. There are many people whom we think everything is fine, but internally they're struggling. Internally they may have thoughts, because like we said that it's a way of coping. So when I'm feeling overwhelmed and I'm feeling like, because we have these thoughts, no, maybe I should just leave, I should just leave the city, leave the job. So these are very natural thoughts of coping when something is feeling overwhelming. And here where you're talking about suicide is a thought that maybe I should just leave life, right? As a way of coping. When I have that thought, there's some sense of relief, right?
Right.
So many people have these thoughts. So when there is a death by suicide in the community, it's triggering that these thoughts, which were otherwise there just in the background, is not in the foreground. It just comes once in a while or comes often for some people, but they're not acting on it. It comes more in the foreground, right? And it becomes more active.
Right.
Yeah. And so there is that risk. So any postvention, these are all postvention, after the death of someone's feeling suicidal, what to do, what to take care of. Any postvention also includes prevention, right? So you have, the first thing in a school, in a community, is to give people space to talk about how it has impacted them.
How are you feeling? Yes.
How are you feeling because of this? What's going on for you? Right? To really allow that kind of space for them to freely share what is it that is happening. And everyone's trying to make meaning, make sense of this,
it, and-
of
yeah.
what doesn't make sense to them. Because you can't go in another person's mind,
Correct. And it's a loss.
Yeah.
It's a loss of overwhelming
Yeah.
proportions.
Yes, yes. And it doesn't make sense to somebody outside where you're not in that person's shoes. It doesn't make sense, right? And so you're left with all these very confusing emotions that and when people hear, yes, even I am faced with these confusing emotions. I've not been able to sleep after this incident has happened. I have been struggling with coping, and this is what people share. So this is something also that I'd engaged in with an organization where there were some deaths by suicide. So one and then another, and because of what we're talking about, and so, but they were a very responsive organization. So the first thing they did was have these kind of like circles, also normalize these reactions that are coming up for people, and allow people to grieve,
Correct.
right? Let people talk about the person whom they lost,
Right.
right? all memories come up. The good times they shared, not understanding that, the guilt that they might be left with, if only, all of those questions which really can be shared. And then it's not just a one time thing, right? We need to keep going back to these people, keep going back to the community and offering this kind of like continuous support. And what that might mean after that initial period is over, after there is some kind of like closure and containment to that, right? Where we're also looking at in terms of what can be done to make our environment more supportive. That's the preventive aspect, right? So if you just stop there and say, okay, because something is, I'm not saying that because of the, organization or anything, it's because of a very complex interplay. But what can there be more help? Can there be more support? Can there be some initiatives, ongoing initiatives that can be taken in a family? Does a family need support? Does it need more some professional support? And to be with this grief and loss for a really long time. Grief and loss it doesn't have a timeline.
It doesn't. I've been there. I know how it feels.
There is no timeline there.
And I mean, it can come and you can go months together without feeling, and suddenly something triggers it, or something, some sense, a memory muscle, a sense of smell. It's happened to me. It's completely debilitated me. Brought me to my knees. It was like someone ripped my heart out. Brought me, cut me off at the knees, and then said, okay, now breathe. And getting over that and trying to work through the morasses of that grief is something I know. I've been there, so I can feel. I know how that feels.
Yes. Yeah. And that process of healing from that kind of grief and loss is a long, ongoing one. But it's not as, that period of intensity.
Correct.
That reduces. You get engaged with other things. Your sense of support, that is there, but it takes a while.
Okay. So we were talking about this, Andy. But the thing about suicidal death is that stigma that goes with it. The suicidal stigma. You don't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about a family member. It's very easy for us to talk about a family member who we lost in a car accident or a plane crash, illness. But we will never tell anybody that I lost so and so to a suicide. Why? How does it? How do you overcome that stigma?
And especially, and you're right, there is that's the added complication of losing someone to suicide, being a survivor of that loss, is that you feel like you can't speak about it and nobody asks.
Correct. That's another thing. Everybody knows it, but nobody will say, why did this person, what made that person go? It's like opening up a Pandora's box, and all those messy feelings coming out to the open.
Yes. One is we anyway have a hard time being with grief and loss. Nobody really asks. They all just tell you what to do. Right? Because that's being and that's being with something really that feels too much for them. In fact, that's why possibly we give a lot of advice, because we don't want to feel our own feelings. If you tell me and you really share the grief, I will feel it. Right? I don't want to feel it. So I don't want you to feel it, So therefore I'm telling you many things to do so that you don't feel your feelings and move on. Now this gets more complicated, like you're saying, because there is the stigma around suicide. Like, it makes it even more of a let's not open this box. Now, what can really help is for people to be sensitive about it. Open the door to the person grieving in terms of, if you want, I can come We can be together, not also if you want, but just being there.
Yeah.
Uh, your question, how can I help?
Yes.
And really showing up,
Correct.
right? Even physical presence of just because it's devastating. It's like the ground has moved beneath my feet. I
And
have,
how?
yes. And so just having the presence of people who are not coming in with, oh, what happened and all of that, but really just there with their presence, with whatever you need, whatever, and when you feel ready
Correct.
to be there, that you can talk about what has
Correct.
happened, right? They may also need, and I really think it's so important that we have more spaces, more listening spaces, listening circles that create these spaces for people to talk about their grief, talk about their loss. Even mental health professionals, sometimes everyone assumes that you've got it all sorted. Yeah. Maybe you've lost, as mental health professionals, you lose sometimes clients.
Yes.
And then you're sitting with all these feelings.
And it affects you hard.
Yeah. So it's there everywhere, and everyone needs a space. There are friends who've lost people who are close to them, and they've not had a chance to talk about it, right? So you just need more.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep coming back to it. You need more of the listening. You need more of the spaces that feel okay.
But that makes sense to me completely.
Yeah.
You do need to listen, and you need to be heard also,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sandy, but how does your work in mindfulness and compassion help to dismantle these barriers?
Hmm.
How do you actually say, like, look, I get you, but say it in a compassionate manner, say it in an empathetic manner? What are your tools to that? How do you
To do that?
Yes.
So you don't even say that I get you.
Okay, but
Right?
you don't really get the person.
Yeah. No, you listen to them, you feel what they're feeling, and you may simply reflect that back, that this is what's going on for you. This is the feeling. Yeah. That's what you hear, right?
Correct.
But I don't need to say I understand. I don't need to say, because I don't understand
Correct.
your internal. I can come close to it, but I may not fully get it.
Correct.
Yeah, but I'm here with you as you are talking, totally with, at the feeling level.
Correct.
Right? At the level of connection.
Correct.
Right? So so we are not saying also all this. It is felt by the other. Right? And what, as a listener, as a practitioner, as a professional, with a mindfulness base, what we are really practicing is to also acknowledge and meet everything that is coming up within us. That will form a barrier.
Okay.
Like, what's the judgment coming up for me?
Okay.
Can I notice that? Put it aside.
Okay.
What's the urge that is coming up for me to, like, you're with a strong emotion and I don't want to be with that, so I wish to give you some advice, and I notice the urge and I put it aside. So all I'm doing as the listener, and it takes a lot of training for that, not training but practice, of noticing these barriers of judgment, advice giving, of noticing these barriers and just keeping that aside for a while and giving my full attention to the other, my attuned attention to the other.
Understood.
Right? So that's what I'm doing. just okay, whatever is coming up within me, because I'm part of the social structure. I do encounter the judgments, the values. My own values may clash with what you're saying. So to notice that, the ability to notice that, that's what someone with a mindfulness base is really kind of practicing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But often we also look at suicide as a mirror to society.
Yeah.
You mentioned a passion for merging mainstream psychological processes with wisdom approaches. From this perspective, what do you believe the increasing rates of suicide in society are pointing to, and what larger societal shifts do we need to pay attention to more?
Yeah. I think earlier, we were just talking about that in a family, when there is distress, when there is dysfunction in a family, that the first people to respond to that, or to show that they are affected by that, maybe through some behaviors, are the children. And what is happening with the high rates of suicide among young people is that it is pointing out to us that there is something amiss in society that we have to pay attention to. So it requires both. It requires being there for all these people encountering these feelings, but it also requires us to look at the deeper issues, to look at something underlying, right? And one of those things that the societal mirror, that's the mirror. It's pointing us out to something is not right,
Correct.
right? And what is my sense of that is what doesn't feel right is that we are increasingly becoming very disconnected from ourselves, from each other, from the environment, from our natural sense of being, right? And from our inherent sense of wholeness, right? So coming, I feel it is a call, it's an invitation to kind of come back into finding our way back to ourselves, finding our way back to each other, in connection, in community, right? And finding our way back of our place and purpose in the world, and in how we are related and interrelated, not just isolated but interrelated to the environment. You have the climate crisis. You have so many pointers that are really pointing out to, hey, something is going wrong.
Correct.
Right? And can we pay attention? It is a call for attention.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a call to pause. Can we just stop? And something about all suicide prevention efforts is that we are so much in this rush of fixing more. We yes, we need more programs. Yes, we need more things, but not just as simple band-aids that will just take care of what we see, right? But we really need to pause and pay attention and dive deeper. In fact, that's what, like the conference that Connecting is doing in November, is really going to try to look at what is it that's underlying that we have to pay attention to. And it's high time. It's time.
That's true. Sandy, I was just thinking, we go back to the role of the helper. Okay?
Yes.
Because I think that is where it all starts, where you can actually step up and do the right thing without doing the right thing. I think the first thing is to just step up.
Yeah.
Be there.
Yeah.
No questions asked, no judgments, no condescension, whether it's intended or not, because sometimes it happens, but you say things you don't really mean. You think you're helping, but you're not really helping. So the role of the helper, your work emphasizes the importance of mental health professionals' own being, and of presence in this high stress environment of counseling that you and your friends carry out, and the crisis support that you'll constantly offer to those who need help, who are crying out for help. How do you guide therapists to actually cultivate this inner oriented process,
Yeah.
And why is it so crucial for effective client work?
Yeah. So, we were talking about also how when you're listening to emotional distress, that you will be impacted because you're listening with empathy, you're
Correct.
listening with that feeling, right, of walking with the other person. So when we bring in these kind of internal practices, whether you're helping out, whether you're a volunteer, whether you're a mental health professional, it's really important to come to have a way of being in your own ground, right? Not losing your ground.
Correct.
Right? And so, in a mindfulness based way, we really bring attention to also in the listening that you're also paying attention to what is arising within you as you're listening. And in that moment, as it is arising, finding an anchor within yourself. It could be just feeling your feet on the ground as you're listening. Yeah, just having that steadiness, just feeling your seat, just sensing your breath, just pausing, right? And so all of that really helps one to really be with the other. No rush, even if it is high distress, no rush. And then your calm presence supports the other in terms of coming into their own sense of self, right? Because we are impacting each other, and this even it shows through mirror neurons, like the right hemisphere to right hemisphere kind of like contact that is happening, which is non-verbal, where this is really being picked up.
Correct.
So as a practitioner, you're really learning that. Now that's also, it's not just helping the other, it's also helping yourself. Because as you are with yourself and really very present, both to yourself and the other, very much located in the heart space. What's happening with that is that you're also kind of like resting in something that is deeply okay, no matter what.
Right.
Yeah. So there can be distress coming up, and there is a sense of okayness with that as well.
Correct.
It's not an either or.
Correct.
Right? And so we come into that space, and then you don't have so many things like compassion fatigue and a sense of being burnt out. Why? Because you're able to read the cues from your own body as well, that now I need a break, or now I need to, not during the session but afterwards, or I need some support here, something very strong emerged for me, maybe from my own past.
So you need someone to talk to also.
Yes. So the self-care. But how do you notice self-care? How do you notice, yes, there is a certain need, because you're paying attention to yourself. You're not out of the equation.
Correct.
Yeah. So you're very much in the equation. And so then self-care becomes a very critical piece. But you're able to read the cues that are coming from your body, mind.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's true. Reading cues brings me to this thing about designing empathetic programs. You need to actually design those programs in order to read those cues. Your training programs are described as an experiment, and they're comprehensive. What does it mean to design a course that is both academically rigorous and deeply human? And what have you found to be the most impactful elements in teaching skills like mindfulness-based active listening?
Yes. Yeah. So yes. So everything that I've engaged with is yes, deeply experiential, because how else would you know empathy?
Yes.
You would not know it just by talking about it.
Correct.
You would know it by experiencing it.
That's one way of looking at it. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because we all know empathy.
Correct.
As human beings.
Yeah, but do we actually feel it?
Yes.
That's a different thing.
Yeah. So to
academically,
come,
you know about
yeah.
it. Yes.
So to come into that space, to come into what it means to be listened to in a non-judgmental way.
Correct.
Do you have the experience of it?
Correct.
To know that, yes, this is what happens when I am received in a non-judgmental way.
Right.
And so having that experience, and I was talking about that, all the knowledge, all the theory, that's really in the background, that's informing what we do, how we do. But when you are with the other, you're just with the other.
Correct.
There's nothing else
Correct.
there except you and the other connecting at a very,
Primal level.
very deep level, at a whole being level.
But Sandy, I may not understand everything you're going through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't need to.
Yeah, and I may not even get everything you're saying. The fact that I just have to stand by you, sit by you, hear you, listen to you as you talk, that should be enough, no?
Yes.
At one point of time.
Yes.
But I'm not a trainer. I'm
Yeah.
speaking about as a layperson. But as a trainer, you need more than that, no? More tools than that.
So you do have tools. That's why it's, the listening part, which is not just silently being there with the person, but also engaging. So with what the person is saying, and then you're just using very simple tools like just reflecting back, or just asking about what they've said, holding it together for them, and mirroring back to them what they are saying,
Correct.
so that they can see it clearly.
Correct.
Right? It's not pointing out, oh, you are saying this or that, but it is like really placing it there so that they can see it for themselves.
Correct.
So those are the tools. It's not like there are no tools in this, but more importantly than the tools, I do believe, is the who you are in that moment as the person on this side, and how you meet the person on the other side.
Correct.
So that meeting, that connection, the felt sense of connection, that's the critical piece. And how does it feel for the other person that the space is a safe space to come into?
Correct.
So safety and connection as the critical pieces.
It's an integration. It's an integration basically of everything that you talk about. So that brings me to that's integrating wisdom and psychology. Your career is a testament to the power of integration, integrating diverse approaches from MBCT and ACT and so on. So tell me a little about that.
Yeah. So,
What is MBCT and what is ACT?
So MBCT is mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. ACT is acceptance commitment therapy, and really blending it with body-based psychological approaches, somatic approaches, as well as looking at this attachment issues that are there. So all of this, how does it come placed together, not from trying to fix the other, but really believing in the deeper wisdom that the other person also has.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the takeaway I've had this evening. My takeaway has been simply show up. Show up with both your ears, listen. Do not just hear. And at the end of the day, remember you're just as human as the person who is talking to you. And for that, just allow yourself to be you and just to be a friend, even if you're not a trained psychologist or a trained helper or a trained counselor. But the fact that you just show up and you sit down to listen, I think that's a little bit of the battle won. And the remaining, we can take it as it is, one day at a time, one word at a time, 1 year at a time. Thank you so much, Sandy.
Thank you.
I've had the most incredibly lovely morning today. It was cathartic in so many ways, and I can't thank you enough for that. We have to do this again.
Yes,
Surely. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Me
coming.
too. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.